Welcome back to the program. Now, property development is a pretty lucrative investment in many parts of the continent. In fact, it's attracted millions, if not billions of dollars if you aggregate it right across sub-Saharan Africa. Often, however, the problem has been concentration of new developments, with the most investors targeting the upper end of the market, the higher end and the middle income groups. And that's left many people looking for home ownership complaining of extremely high property prices. Now, it turns out, however, the demand at the top is still pretty high, at least if recent development is anything to go by. China-based Jiangxi Xinyu real estate development company, which is part of the China Jiangxi Corporation for International Economic and Technical Cooperation, is putting up luxury resorts north of Kenya's port city of Mombasa. These holiday homes are expected to retail at anywhere between $100,000 and $680,000, and demand for them, as it turns out, is pretty high. Let's find out exactly who's buying these properties. Fina Wira is the Sales and Marketing Manager for the Sultan Palace project. She's with me in studio right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Explain this to me. I mean, $100,000, $600,000 is a ton of money. Who's a typical buyer for these homes?
Definitely at that price point, we're talking about the upper middle class. Those are most of our local buyers. Yeah, we have a lot of local people, a lot of Kenyans who are investing into the project because definitely they do understand the market, they understand the risk level, they understand, when to invest and when not to invest. We've also received massive support from the Middle East, a lot of international buyers. Of course, Africa, as known everywhere else in the world, is the future is in Africa, and they see
that's an interesting point you raise, because more often than not, when we talk about investment, or rather FDI coming into the continent, we hear a lot about the Europeans, the Americans, the Chinese, but rarely do we ever hear about the Middle Eastern buyer coming in and saying, I like this property, I like the returns on it, let me put cash into it. I mean, what's the percentage here? Give me a split between, say, Kenyan buyers, Middle Eastern buyers, private and institutional.
Middle East versus Kenyan buyers, I'll pretty much say right now in the project we have about 10% Middle Eastern buyers, yes. I think it also, because of the prices, the opportunity in Kenya particularly has not been exhausted, especially when it comes to the holiday homes market.
The data seen by early May, most of these properties are what, 55, 65% complete, but how many of those have been sold?
60%.
60%. And a guy's coming in and buying them off plan, or they're looking at a finished product?
Definitely a lot of investors prefer to buy off plan because that's when they can get most of the best deals, and definitely the payment plan is flexible. A lot of the experienced buyers, they're not really looking to invest towards the early stages of the development because they're more looking at the luxury aspect of it, while the investor is looking at the numbers point of view. That's basically that.
So are a lot of these buyers looking at it as an investment, or are they saying, this is just an asset I'd like to have in my portfolio, it's something where they'll actually live in?
It's pretty much both. I'd pretty much say we have 50-50. A lot of our buyers, we have a majority of them who are definitely looking at it at an investment point of view, and we also have others who are looking at it at a point whereby we have a lot of people who are looking for retirement destination. So definitely that is something to look at.
But what's the return? Let's say, for example, I've got $250,000. I come to you and I say, Fina, I want to buy a house, or I want to buy one of your condos, one of your residences. What sort of returns am I looking at?
We are looking at between 18 to 20% capital return on all of our units, because again, when you have traveled to Mombasa, you realize that there's a high need for five-star hotel and some of these luxury developments, and the tourism industry down there is booming, though right now we have been facing a few major setbacks, but we're looking at between 18 to 21%, which is possible.
And that's after fees?
That is after in the end,
Wow, that's a lot of money. But why Mombasa? Why set this up in Mombasa and not, say, Lamu or Malindi, or even in another location that would tend to have a lot of luxury residences, like all the gated communities we're seeing coming up in Nairobi? Why set up specifically in Mombasa?
Number one is this is meant to be a tourism magnet in Mombasa. Another thing is we have seen, especially the area in particular, Kikambala. This is one of the this is where we had Paradise Hotel a few years back. The tourism industry down there was very vibrant, but after the terror attack,
that was 2002,
yes, it sort of went down. So we wanted to bring that back and sort of bring the tourism industry back. And the tourism industry in Mombasa has been quite booming, like I mentioned, except for a few years and a few cycles that currently we're facing, but it is major industry. All
right, fascinating project. We're looking forward to seeing its completion and the numbers at the end of that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We've been speaking to Fina Wira. She's a Sales and Marketing Manager for the Sultan Palace project in Kenya's coastline.